the great council chamber of the Zephyrian Dominion, stretched across 3 miles of crystalline floor. 12 different species sat in their designated sections, each believing themselves to be the most evolved beings in the galaxy. The ethereals floated in their glowing spheres, their minds touching thoughts across light years. The crystalline masters grew from the floor itself, their bodies made of living diamond. The hegemony warriors stood at attention, their 4 arms crossed in perfect military formation. For 3,000 years, these 12 species had ruled everything. They had conquered worlds, enslaved entire civilizations, and shaped the galaxy according to their vision of order. No species had ever challenged them. No species had ever dared. High Commander Zethix of the Ethereals spoke without moving his mouth. His words appeared directly in the minds of all present. The scouts have returned from the Outer Rim. They bring disturbing news. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber. It showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet looked peaceful from space, covered in swirling white clouds and vast blue oceans. But the data streaming alongside the image told a different story. The species calls themselves humans, Zethix continued. They have achieved basic faster-than-light travel within the last 50 years. Their technology is primitive by our standards. They still use chemical combustion for many of their vehicles. Their longest-lived governments have existed for less than 300 years. General Korath of the Hegemony Guard slammed one of his 4 fists on his stone chair. Then why do we waste time discussing them? Send a single destroyer. End them quickly. Because, said Dr. Veshai, the chief scientist of the crystalline masters, they are not what they appear to be. Her diamond body began to glow brighter as she accessed the data files. Our scouts intercepted their communications, their entertainment broadcasts, their military training programs, their historical records. The hologram changed, showing images of human cities. Massive structures of metal and glass reached toward the sky. Millions of humans moved through streets like rivers of flesh. But then the images shifted to show something else. Humans in armor carrying weapons fighting in the ruins of burning buildings. Humans in spacecraft, ramming their ships into larger vessels as they exploded. Humans standing over the bodies of creatures that looked like they came from nightmares. They come from a death world, Veshai explained. Their planet has tried to kill them for millions of years. Ice ages that last for thousands of years. Volcanoes that block out the sun. Diseases that should have wiped them out completely. Predators with claws and teeth that could tear through metal. The ethereal Prime Counselor Nexus floated forward in his sphere. His ancient mind had seen the rise and fall of 100 civilizations. Every species faces challenges during evolution. What makes these humans different? They survived all of it, Veshai said quietly. Every extinction event, every plague, every disaster. And they did not just survive. They became stronger. They became the apex predators of their world. They killed or domesticated everything else. The chamber fell silent. The concept was difficult for many of them to understand. Most of the Dominion species had evolved on peaceful worlds, developing their intelligence and technology over millions of years of stable growth. The idea of a species forged in constant battle was alien to them. Show them the military records, Zethix commanded. The hologram changed again. Now it showed human soldiers in combat. They moved with a coordination that seemed impossible. When one fell, another immediately took his place. When their weapons broke, they picked up rocks and kept fighting. When they were outnumbered, they found ways to turn their environment into weapons. They fought in the frozen wastes of their polar regions. They fought in the crushing depths of their oceans. They fought in the burning heat of their deserts. But the most disturbing footage came from their own conflicts. Humans fighting other humans with a savagery that made hardened hegemony warriors look away, cities reduced to rubble, weapons that could destroy entire continents. And through it all, humans kept fighting, kept adapting, kept surviving. They have a concept they call mutually assured destruction. Veshai continued. They built weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. Then they pointed these weapons at each other for decades. They were willing to kill everyone, including themselves, rather than surrender to an enemy. Admiral Kezon of the Aquatic Collective bubbled in his water tank. Madness. No rational species would risk total extinction over political disputes. That is exactly the point, said Zethix. They are not rational by our standards. Look at their battle doctrines. They teach their soldiers to fight to the last being. They have medals they give to soldiers who die in combat. They celebrate those who sacrifice themselves to kill enemies. Their greatest heroes are not scientists or artists. but warriors who died fighting impossible odds. The hologram showed human children playing games, but these were not peaceful games of learning and cooperation. These were games of war, strategy, and competition. Human children played at being soldiers before they could properly walk. They learned to fight before they learned to read. Their entire culture is built around conflict, HFY observed. But not chaotic conflict. Organized conflict. They have turned warfare into a science. They study every battle they have ever fought. They learn from every defeat. They adapt their tactics faster than any species we have encountered. General Korath studied the images of human technology. Their ships were ugly by Dominion standards, built for function rather than beauty. But they were also redundant. Multiple backup systems, multiple ways to accomplish the same task. They were built to keep working even when severely damaged. Their technology may be primitive, Korath admitted, but it is robust. And they advance quickly. According to these records, they went from their first powered flight to landing on their moon in less than 70 years. They went from basic computers to artificial intelligence in 50 years. They achieved nuclear weapons within a century of discovering electricity. The Prime Counselor's sphere pulsed with deep blue light, indicating serious thought. They are advancing too quickly. If we allow them to continue developing for another century, they may become a threat to the Dominion. More than a threat, Zethix corrected. I have run the projections through our most advanced prediction models. If human technological advancement continues at its current rate, and if they maintain their current military culture, they will surpass us within 200 years. Their chaotic innovation combined with their survival instincts could make them the dominant species in this galaxy. The chamber erupted in shocked communication. Thought streams flowed between the ethereals. The crystalline masters grew brighter with agitation. The hegemony warriors roared their disbelief. Impossible, Admiral Kezon bubbled. We have ruled for millennia. We have conquered everything. How could primitives threaten the Dominion? Because, said HFY slowly, we conquered everything through superior technology and intelligence. But these humans conquered their world through pure survival instinct. They are what happens when evolution chooses violence over intelligence, adaptation over stability. They are the ultimate survivors. The Prime Counselor raised one ethereal hand for silence. Then the solution is clear. We cannot allow them to develop further. The purification fleet will be assembled. Our 12 greatest champions will lead the most powerful armada in Dominion history. These humans will be eliminated before they can become a threat. General Korath nodded approvingly. How much force should we send? A battle group? A full fleet? Everything, Zethix replied coldly. We will send everything. Every advanced ship, every elite warrior, every weapon we have developed over 3 millennia of conquest. We will not make the mistake of underestimating them, simply because their technology is primitive. We will crush them completely and ensure that no trace of their dangerous evolution remains in this galaxy. The Council voted unanimously. Within days, the greatest military force in galactic history began assembling at the edge of human space. 12 champions, each representing the pinnacle of their species' military might, prepared to lead the final battle against humanity. None of them suspected they were about to encounter something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The purification fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, like a wave of death. 12 massive command ships led the armada, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering. The ethereal flagship Mindrender pulsed with psychic energy that could crush minds across light years. The crystalline dreadnought Eternal Facet was built from living diamond and armed with weapons that could crack planets. The hegemony warship Iron Fist bristled with enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. Behind these flagships came 600 ships of the line. Destroyers that could move faster than thought. Cruisers armed with weapons that manipulated reality itself. Carriers filled with fighter craft piloted by warriors who had never known defeat. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Admiral Caney, the human commander of Earth's orbital defense network, watched the alien fleet appear on his screens with grim determination. He had known this day would come. The deep space monitoring stations had detected the alien scouts months ago. Humanity had been preparing for war ever since. All ships, this is Admiral Caney. He broadcast on all military frequencies. They came here to wipe us out. Show them what happens when someone threatens the human race. The aliens expected the humans to flee or surrender when they saw the size of the purification fleet. They had seen other species react this way: panic, despair, sometimes desperate attempts at negotiation. But the humans did something different. They attacked. The first wave of human ships was pathetic by Dominion standards. Converted cargo haulers with improvised armor plating, mining vessels fitted with military-grade lasers, even civilian passenger ships loaded with nuclear warheads. But they came at the alien fleet with a fury that shocked the Dominion commanders. "What are they doing?" General Korath demanded as he watched a human cargo ship ram itself directly into the shields of an alien destroyer. The ship exploded in a ball of nuclear fire, taking the destroyer with it. That ship had no chance of survival. Why did they attack? The answer came from every direction at once. More human ships converged on the alien fleet, each one fighting with the desperation of a cornered animal. They used tactics the aliens had never seen before. Human pilots would damage their own ships to get closer to alien vessels. They would overload their reactors to create massive explosions. They turned everything into weapons. Captain Sarah Chen piloted her fighter into the hangar bay of a crystalline cruiser. Her ship was already venting atmosphere from multiple hits, but she kept flying. As alien fighter craft swarmed around her, she broadcast her final message: "Remember me when you're dancing on their graves." Her ship exploded inside the alien hangar, destroying 12 enemy fighters and crippling the cruiser's launch systems. But she was just one of hundreds of human pilots making similar sacrifices. The ethereal commander Zethix tried to use his psychic powers to break the humans' will to fight. He had done this countless times before with other species. Fear was a universal constant. Every intelligent being feared death. But when his mental probes touched human minds, he recoiled in shock. The humans were afraid. They were terrified, but they kept fighting anyway. Their minds were compartmentalized in ways he had never encountered. Even when he filled them with overwhelming dread, parts of their consciousness continued to function independently. They felt the fear and ignored it. They accepted death and continued fighting. "Impossible," Zethix whispered. "How do they resist mental domination?" Dr. Vesahai watched the tactical displays from her flagship and began to understand. They are not resisting it. They are working around it. Look at their brain scans. Human consciousness is not centralized like ours. It is distributed across multiple neural networks. Even if you dominate one part of their mind, the rest continues to function. The battle moved into Earth's orbital space. Human space stations became fortresses. Every asteroid had been hollowed out and filled with weapons. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a weapon. But the aliens had superior technology. Slowly, methodically, they began to destroy human defenses. Orbital platforms exploded under alien bombardment. Space stations were cracked open like eggs. The human fleet was being overwhelmed. That was when the humans revealed their true nature. As alien forces moved toward Earth itself, they encountered something unexpected. The planet was not defended by a traditional military force. It was defended by the entire human species. Every city had anti-aircraft weapons. Every civilian building had been reinforced. Every human being was armed and ready to fight. The hegemony warriors who landed on Earth's surface expected to face an organized military resistance. Instead, they found themselves fighting civilians who had turned office buildings into fortresses. Human children threw explosives from rooftops. Human elderly used sniper rifles from windows. Human doctors treated wounded soldiers, then picked up weapons and joined the fighting. "They fight like insects," General Korath reported to the fleet. "No matter how many we kill, more keep coming. Every human seems willing to die to kill just one of us." Admiral Kazon's aquatic forces tried to invade through Earth's oceans. But the humans had prepared for that too. They had filled the seas with mines, automated weapons platforms, and hunter-killer submarines. More importantly, they had human divers who attacked alien ships with nothing but explosives strapped to their bodies. "This is not warfare," Kazon bubbled in distress. "This is madness. They are destroying themselves to hurt us." But the worst shock came when the aliens tried to capture human technology. They expected primitive computers and simple weapons. Instead, they found systems that seemed to learn and adapt in real time. Human artificial intelligence was crude compared to Dominion technology, but it was also completely unpredictable. When alien hackers tried to infiltrate human computer networks, they found chaos. Human AI systems did not think logically. They used random processes, creative leaps, and intuitive guesses. Alien cyber weapons designed to attack logical systems were useless against human computers that operated on controlled randomness. Their machines think like they do, Dr. Vesai observed with growing concern. Chaotic, unpredictable, but surprisingly effective. Captain Torres of the human frigate Defiance demonstrated this chaos perfectly. When his ship was surrounded by alien vessels, he did not retreat or surrender. Instead, he broadcast human music over all communication channels while his crew jury-rigged their life support systems into an improvised weapon. "You want to see how humans fight?" Torres laughed over the radio as his ship began to glow with unstable energy. "We turn everything into a weapon. Everything." The Defiance exploded with the force of a small star, taking 3 alien ships with it. But the explosion also disabled the shields of a dozen more alien vessels, allowing other human ships to destroy them. This pattern repeated across the entire battle zone. Humans turned their own deaths into weapons. They used their destruction to create opportunities for other humans. Every human loss made the remaining humans fight harder. High Commander Zethix realized they had made a terrible mistake. "These humans do not fight to win," he told the other commanders. "They fight to ensure we lose. Even if they die, they are winning as long as they hurt us." The Purification Fleet had expected to face a primitive species that would crumble under superior firepower. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to become more dangerous as they became more desperate. Every human defeat led to new tactics. Every human death inspired greater resistance. As the battle raged on, the aliens began to notice something else. The humans were learning. They were studying alien technology in the middle of combat, figuring out how it worked and finding ways to counter it. Human ships that should have been destroyed were staying in the fight longer. Human weapons that should have been ineffective were suddenly punching through alien shields. "They are adapting," Dr. Vesai reported with growing alarm. "In the middle of battle, they are reverse engineering our technology and improving their own." "How is this possible?" The answer came from a captured human soldier. Under interrogation, he laughed at his alien captors. "You think this is hard for us? You should see what we do to each other. You're just another predator trying to eat us. We've been dealing with predators for millions of years." As night fell over the burning earth, both sides prepared for the next phase of battle. The aliens had superior technology and numbers, but the humans had something the aliens were beginning to fear: the absolute refusal to surrender no matter the cost. The Purification Fleet had come to exterminate humanity quickly and efficiently. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a grinding war of attrition against an enemy that seemed to thrive on conflict. And for the first time in 3,000 years of conquest, the elite forces of the Dominion began to doubt whether they could win. 3 months into the war, the Purification Fleet faced a problem they had never encountered before. They were losing ships faster than they could replace them. Not from superior alien technology or overwhelming numbers, but from an enemy that refused to fight by any recognizable rules. Dr. Elizabeth Harper worked in the underground laboratories beneath New Geneva. Surrounded by pieces of captured alien technology, she had been a theoretical physicist before the war. Now she was something else entirely. She was an evolutionary pressure point, forcing human technology to advance at impossible speeds. "Hand me that power coupling from the crystalline ship," she said to her assistant without looking up from her work. Around her, dozens of human scientists were performing similar miracles. They would capture alien technology in the morning and have modified human versions working by evening. The aliens had expected their technological superiority to end the war quickly. Instead, it became the source of their greatest weakness. Every time they destroyed a human ship, humans would study the wreckage. Every time they lost a ship to humans, humans would take it apart and learn from it. Admiral Caney stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Terran Vengeance, a ship that would have been impossible 6 months earlier. It was built using human engineering principles but powered by modified alien technology. The fusion reactors came from captured aquatic ships. The shields were based on crystalline energy matrices. The weapons were human kinetic cannons enhanced with ethereal targeting systems. "Status report," Caney ordered. "All systems green." "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Park. "The hybrid systems are performing better than expected. We're getting 30% more power output than the original alien designs." This was the pattern emerging across the human fleet. They were not just copying alien technology, they were improving it. Human engineers approached problems differently than any species the Dominion had encountered. Where aliens pursued elegant, efficient solutions, humans created robust, adaptable ones. Where aliens built systems to work perfectly under ideal conditions, humans built systems to keep working when everything went wrong. Captain Marcus Steele demonstrated this philosophy perfectly. His ship, the Indomitable, had been hit by alien fire 17 times. Any other vessel would have been destroyed, but human engineering kept it fighting. When the main engines failed, backup systems activated. When the backup systems failed, the crew rigged alternative power sources. When those failed, they used manual controls and fought with whatever weapons still functioned. "Sir, we've lost main power, backup power, and tertiary power," reported his engineering officer. "Then we'll use the emergency battery to ram the nearest alien ship," Steele replied calmly. "Load all remaining missiles into the torpedo tubes. When we hit them, we'll give them everything we have left." But before Steele could execute his final attack, something unexpected happened. The Indomitable's power systems came back online, not because of any repair work, but because the ship's AI had figured out how to reroute power through systems that were never designed to carry electrical current. "How is this possible?" Steele demanded. "The AI rewrote its own programming, sir," the engineering officer explained in amazement. "It's using the life support conduits as power cables and the sewage system as a cooling mechanism. It shouldn't work, but it does." This was happening throughout the human fleet. Human artificial intelligence was evolving during combat. Unlike alien AI systems, which were programmed to think logically and efficiently, human AI was designed to be creative and intuitive. When faced with impossible problems, it found impossible solutions. The aliens were beginning to understand that they were not just fighting human beings. They were fighting human ingenuity itself. Every challenge made humans more creative. Every setback forced them to innovate. Every loss taught them something new. General Korath learned this lesson personally when his forces tried to capture a human research facility on Mars. The facility was defended by only 50 human soldiers, while he commanded 2,000 elite hegemony warriors. It should have been an easy victory. Instead, it became a nightmare. The humans had turned the entire facility into a weapon. Corridors were rigged with explosives. Rooms had hidden compartments where humans could appear and disappear like ghosts. Even the air conditioning system had been weaponized, pumping toxic gas into areas occupied by alien forces. "This is not a military installation," Korath realized as his warriors fought room by room through the facility. "This is a trap. They built this entire facility to kill anyone who tried to capture it." But the real shock came when Korath finally reached the central laboratory. Instead of finding human scientists cowering in fear, he found them calmly working on new weapons while battle raged around them. They had been using the attack as a test environment for their latest innovations. "You're about to be overrun," Korath told the lead scientist through his translator. "Why are you not afraid?" Dr. Sarah Kim looked up from her work with genuine confusion. "Afraid? This is the best research opportunity we've had in months. We're finally getting to test our weapons against live targets. Thank you for volunteering." Before Korath could respond, the entire facility exploded. The humans had rigged it with charges from the beginning. They never intended to hold it. They had used his own attack to test their weapons, gathered data on alien combat capabilities, and then destroyed everything to prevent alien forces from learning anything useful. Korath survived the explosion, but barely. As he was pulled from the wreckage by his remaining warriors, he sent a message to the fleet command. "These humans are not defending their territory. They are conducting experiments on us." This realization spread through the alien fleet like a virus. The humans were not just fighting to survive. They were learning from every engagement. They were studying alien tactics, technology, and biology. They were treating the entire war as a massive research project. Admiral Kezon discovered this when his forces captured a human submarine in Earth's Pacific Ocean. He expected to find terrified prisoners. Instead, he found humans who seemed genuinely excited to meet alien life forms. They asked questions about alien biology, technology, and culture. They wanted to understand how alien society worked. At first, Kezon thought this was some kind of psychological warfare. But the humans seemed genuinely curious. Even while being held prisoner, they were learning. They observed alien behavior, memorized alien technology, and somehow managed to communicate this information to other humans. How are they doing this? Kazan demanded when he realized that human forces were already adapting to counter-tactics that his prisoners had just observed. We monitor all their communications. How are they sharing information so quickly? The answer came from Dr. Veshai, who had been studying captured human equipment. They have multiple communication methods, electronic signals that we can intercept, but also chemical signals, behavioral cues, and even artistic expressions that carry encoded information. They are sharing data through their entertainment broadcasts, their news reports, and their social interactions. High Commander Zethix tried to counter this by jamming all human communications, but it only made things worse. When humans could not communicate electronically, they found other ways. They used light signals, radio waves, and even patterns of debris from destroyed ships to convey information. More disturbing, human forces seemed to develop collective intelligence during combat. Individual human soldiers would make decisions that only made sense as part of a larger strategy. They would sacrifice their own tactical advantages to create opportunities for humans they had never met. They fought like a single organism with millions of bodies. They are not individuals, Zethix reported to the Dominion Council. They appear to be individuals, but they function as a collective consciousness. When one human learns something, somehow all humans benefit from that knowledge. The war had become something the aliens had never prepared for. They were not fighting a primitive species with inferior technology. They were fighting evolution itself. Every human death made the remaining humans stronger. Every alien victory taught humans new lessons. Every day of conflict made humanity more dangerous. Dr. Veshai ran the projections and came to a terrifying conclusion. At current rates of adaptation, human technology will surpass ours within 18 months. Their tactical innovation is already superior to ours, and their motivation appears to be limitless. The purification fleet had been sent to quickly exterminate humanity before they could become a threat. Instead, they had become the catalyst for humanity's rapid evolution. They had turned humans from a potential future threat into an immediate present danger. As the war entered its 4th month, alien commanders began to realize they were no longer hunting humans. They were being hunted, and their prey was learning faster than they could adapt. The first champion to fall was Admiral Thexlar of the Ethereal Fleet. He had ruled the minds of entire planets, bending civilizations to his will with pure psychic force. For 800 years, no enemy had been able to resist his mental domination. But the humans were different. Thexlar tried to crush the mind of Captain Jennifer Reyes as her damaged fighter approached his flagship. He poured all his psychic power into her brain, filling her thoughts with terror, despair, and the overwhelming urge to surrender. For a moment it worked. Reyes screamed as alien thoughts invaded her consciousness. But then something impossible happened. Parts of her mind that Thexlar had not touched began to compensate for the parts he had dominated. Human consciousness was not centralized like alien minds. It was distributed, redundant, and adaptable. Even while Thexlar controlled her fear responses, other parts of her brain continued to fly the ship. "How are you still fighting?" Thexlar demanded, his psychic voice echoing in her mind. "I control your thoughts. I am your will now." Reyes laughed, even as tears of terror streamed down her face. "You control part of my thoughts. But I've got more where those came from." Her fighter slammed into the bridge of Thexlar's flagship, and both ships exploded in a ball of nuclear fire. As he died, Thexlar sent one final message to the surviving champions. The humans compartmentalize their consciousness. Mental domination only affects portions of their minds. The rest continues to function independently. They fight like their brains are multiple beings working together. General Korath received this message while leading the siege of Luna City. Human defenders had turned the moon's underground tunnels into a maze of death traps. His warriors, the finest soldiers in the galaxy, were being systematically hunted by human civilians who had learned to fight in zero gravity. Impossible. Korath growled as another squad of his elite troops was eliminated by human children using improvised explosives. These are not soldiers. These are non-combatants. How are they defeating trained warriors? The answer came from Sergeant Maria Santos, a human defender who had been a schoolteacher before the war. As Korath cornered her in a tunnel junction, she calmly explained while arming a fusion grenade. "You trained your soldiers to fight other soldiers," she said. "We trained our civilians to fight anything that tries to kill them. Your warriors expect enemies to follow military tactics. We don't follow any tactics, we just survive." The grenade exploded, collapsing the tunnel and burying Korath's entire assault force. But before he died, Korath understood what the humans had done. They had not created a military force. They had turned their entire species into a military force. Every human was a potential soldier. Every human building was a potential fortress. Every human tool was a potential weapon. Admiral Kezon of the Aquatic Collective fell next. His deep-sea forces had dominated ocean warfare for millennia. No species could match their ability to fight in underwater environments. But humans had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting in every environment their planet could create. Kezon's forces encountered human submariners in the depths of Earth's Mariana Trench. The humans were fighting in crushing pressure that should have killed them instantly. They wore crude pressure suits and used weapons that barely functioned in the extreme environment. But they kept fighting. How do they survive at these depths? Kezon bubbled in confusion as human divers attacked his flagship with nothing but explosive charges. The pressure should crush their fragile bodies. Chief Petty Officer Jackson Davis answered by ramming his suit's propulsion system directly into Kezon's command chamber. As the alien admiral died in the implosion, Davis's final transmission explained everything. We've been fighting our planet for millions of years. Your ocean is just another day at the office. Dr. Vesahai of the Crystalline Masters lasted longer than the others, but her end was the most disturbing. She prided herself on logical analysis and rational thought. But humans had turned logic itself into a weapon. Vesahai captured Dr. Elizabeth Harper during a raid on a human research facility. She expected to interrogate a primitive scientist and learn about human technology. Instead, she found herself engaged in a philosophical discussion that gradually undermined her entire worldview. Your technology is impressive, Harper admitted while chained in Vesahai's laboratory. But it's also predictable. You build things to work perfectly under ideal conditions. We build things to work when everything goes wrong. Chaos is inefficient, Vesahai replied, her crystalline body pulsing with confidence. Order creates progress. Logic creates advancement, does it? Harper asked. Your fleet came here with perfect logic. You analyzed us, made rational plans, and executed them flawlessly. How's that working out for you? Vesahai began to explain how Dominion's strategy was superior, but as she spoke, she realized Harper was right. Every logical assumption the aliens had made about humans had been wrong. Every rational prediction had failed. Human irrationality had become a tactical advantage. You're using our logic against us, Vesahai whispered in growing horror. We're using everything against you, Harper confirmed. That's what humans do. We take whatever is trying to kill us and turn it into a tool for survival. Your logic, your technology, your tactics, we'll learn from all of it and use it to defeat you. Vesahai tried to execute Harper immediately, but it was too late. During their conversation, Harper had been studying crystalline technology and biology. She had learned enough to sabotage Vesahai's ship from within her prison cell. The entire laboratory exploded as Harper triggered a cascade failure in the ship's crystalline matrix. Commander Vorthak of the Hegemony Guard was the last champion to fall. He had led the most elite warriors in the galaxy, soldiers who had conquered 1,000 worlds. But humans had turned warfare itself into something unrecognizable. Vorthak's final battle took place on a human space station that should have been destroyed weeks earlier. Instead, the humans had kept it operational through sheer stubborn determination. They had turned every corridor into a killing field, every room into a bunker, every piece of equipment into a weapon. This is not war, Vorthak reported to the surviving alien commanders as his forces fought through the station's maze-like interior. This is something else. The humans have turned their own destruction into a weapon against us. As Vorthak's warriors advanced, they found human defenders who had been fighting without food, water, or medical supplies for days. But instead of weakening them, the extreme conditions seemed to make them more dangerous. They fought with the desperation of cornered animals and the intelligence of tactical geniuses. Sir, the humans have rigged the station's reactor to explode, reported Vorthak's aide. They're going to destroy themselves and us together. Then we withdraw, Vorthak ordered. But as his forces tried to retreat, they discovered the humans had predicted this response. Every escape route had been mined. Every corridor had been turned into a trap. The humans had not just planned to destroy the station. They had planned to ensure maximum alien casualties when they did. Vorthak's final transmission was sent as the station's reactor went critical. We are not fighting a military force. We are fighting evolution itself. These humans have weaponized the concept of survival. They do not fight to win. They fight to ensure we cannot win. Even in death, they are defeating us. The explosion destroyed the station, all remaining human defenders, and Vorthak's entire assault force. But it also sent a clear message to the surviving alien fleet. Humanity would not surrender, would not retreat.